Hello and welcome to Bust and Beyond with your host, Robin Hayhurst. In this podcast, Robin will share his personal journey and experiences from his businesses and help you to learn from failure. You'll learn tips, tricks, and how to see things from a new perspective. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Robin Hayhurst.
It seems as if the teaching genes were in me, because every time I've tried to move away from it, Robin, it draws right me back into teaching and coaching and training. When I graduated from high school, my career choice was, we were still a member of the British Commonwealth. I wanted to join the Royal Air Force. I wanted to fly fighter jets. That's what I wanted to do, man. So I go to my mom. I say, hey, Ma, this is what I want to do. I'm her youngest son. You know what she said to me? No way, you're not going to go fight no fighter jets. I applied for jobs just now. I need to find a job. I got a single mom. I need to help her, raise us. I got accepted in teaching. And Robin, I loved it. From the very first day, it was like, wow. It was amazing. It was like, you talk about the natural, instinctive. I went to teachers' college, got my degree, taught math. And then in 79, I got pissed off with the bureaucracy and the leadership kind of deal. They were so traditional in their thinking. I wanted to open a math lab at the school, and they didn't want it to happen. They didn't know what they were talking about. They wouldn't listen. So I quit, and I started selling life insurance. Within 1 year, I was teaching the other salespeople how to sell life insurance. So I gave up, and I said, this is my calling. When you find your calling in life, Robin, it's like you're like an oyster. Like the pearl. The whole world opens up for you when you find your true calling, because that's the time you stop working. You don't work anymore.
I totally agree, Lincoln. Yeah, I totally agree. I think, when I started coaching, mentoring, whatever you want to call it, there's loads of different language around that. I realised actually helping people, and the bit taught me that the patience, the others, really kind of kicked in. And it did. It made a huge difference to what I do, and I absolutely love it. I can totally see it, and I feel sorry for the amount of people out there that either don't find their thing that they can do really, really well and enjoy doing, or find it and don't get on with it, don't know how to do it the right way that makes it enjoyable. I think, again, onto that, people that perhaps do the job that they're passionate about, they've lost their passion for it because they're going about it the wrong way. And they just make it hard work. Do you agree with that?
Oh, totally, because a lot of people are settling for, okay, that's good enough. And they stop looking. You find what you look for. If you look for what you like to do, you're going to find it. If you just said, okay, this is it, it is what it is. To me, that's one of the most defeatist statement a person can make. It is what we make it out to be.
I used to really hate the word content, because content is like, it's okay. Yeah. Well, you only live once. I believe that. Some people believe differently, but I believe you only live once. Content isn't really how I want to live my life. I want to be passionate. I want to be, I want it to be brilliant. And so I've always kind of been a bit shy of content. Sometimes content is nice, but not all the time.
I'm a man of faith. I believe I'm a creation. I'm not a creator, and who I am and what I am is inspired by the Holy Spirit. And I can see how he led me through. I'm 73 years old, and I can look back and see how many times he led me, opened doors for me and equipped me. When I walk into those doors, even like how I came to the United States. I came here in 1985. Robin, I never wanted to come here. I was having a great life in Trinidad and Tobago. I was making more money than I needed. I was in paradise. You know, the island life, kind of carnival and, having fun playing cricket, playing soccer.
Well, having never been there, I can only guess, but, in the movies, you looked fantastic.
Yeah, so I am at that in the 70s, 80s, I was a member of JC's International at the time. In 1984, I was vice president of JC's International. My role as vice president was a voluntary role, was to visit my assigned territories, motivate, encourage, train the leaders, do interviews on radio and TV, and encourage and inspire the members. So in 1984, I started in the middle of the year campaigning for executive vice president. Because my goal was to become a world president one day. I get a phone call in June of 1984 from the Secretary General of the international organization, which was based in Coral Gables, Florida at the time. And guess what, Robin? He was one of your countrymen. Richard Hayward is his name, British guy. And the conversation went something like this. Hey, Lincoln. Hey, Richard, how's it going? And my always first words that come out of my mouth when somebody called me is, how can I help you? And he says to me, we know you're running for executive vice president. And we know if you run, you're going to win. You're a good guy. Everybody loves you. You've done a great job for us. But, and Robin, when you're having a conversation and somebody says, but, your antenna goes up. And he said, but we need a director of training and development at the world headquarters. And we've looked around and we would like for you to be that person. Robin, I did not even know they were looking. I never even applied. And I'm tiny little island, 75 miles north-south, 50 miles east-west. There were 80 countries in the organization at the time, and the Secretary General is calling me in this little tiny, that had to be divine. Cut a long story short, I landed in Miami International Airport March of 1985 with 2 suitcases in my hand, and the rest is history. They sent me all over the world, literally all over the world. The only continent I didn't get to go to was Africa, to train the leaders, motivate the members, organize conferences, organize the training program at world congresses. It was like being immersed in so many different cultures. It was like I got a PhD in sociology, and my whole perspective of humanity changed. And I could see the similarities, no matter where you come from, no matter what language you eat, no matter what type of food you eat, no matter what kind of home you live in, everybody like to be appreciated. Everybody like to have a meal together, come together, have a social drink together, communicate with one another. It's amazing. We have so much in common, but people tend to look at what we don't have in common.
Oh, I think people do. I totally agree with that. And we have so much in common. And, conflict often comes from misinformation. I mean, I often say to my family or people I know when someone has a go with them or is not very nice to them, well, they're jealous of you. So what have they got to be jealous of? Doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be real. Just they've made something up about you that they're jealous of. And, that's why they're putting you down. That's why they're not very nice to you. It's misinformation. And we have so much in common. There's very, very few bad apples out there. They do exist, but there's very few. Most people want to treat people like they want to be treated. And that's their kind of way in life. And that's really important. And that kind of flows on to the fact that I'm a great believer in birds of a feather flock together. If you've got a certain mentality about life and you're about helping people and you keep company with people with the same mentality as you, you're going to have a successful life.
Amen. Amen. Yes, you're so right. Look at the news media. How often do you hear they broadcast a positive story? That's the exception.
They never do. But in fact, before we started recording, we were talking about Prince Harry, weren't we? And we both said we'll never know the whole truth. It's very difficult to make a judgment. And we're in different countries and we have slightly different perspectives on it, maybe. But we'll never know the whole truth. And And that's kind of so true of so much that we come across and so much that we make a judgment about.
Yeah, and the thing about it is we human beings tend, you were saying, be contented. That's like the enemy of excellence. And we put limitations on ourselves. I remember when I was in high school, I loved to play. I could play, we call it football, you and I. I could play football, but I was so skinny, I was ashamed of my physique. So I didn't go out on the high school team. My best friend, Rodney, he and I used to play at home, and I was just as good as him. But he made the team. But then my mind started working in a more positive way. And I thought, this is who I am. So what I did is I learned to kick with both feet. That set me apart. And then I realized I was skinny, but I was faster than many of the guys. So when I went to college, Robin, I walked on and made the team as a starter. So it's about releasing yourself from the doubt. Some psychologists did an experiment and they caught some fleas. And fleas don't fly, but they jump high. They appear to be flying. And they put them in a jar, Robin, and they cover the jar. And so the fleas start jumping around and they start hitting the side of the jar, hitting the inside cover, and that hurt. So after about a couple of hours, they stop. The psychologist opened the jar and they said, stop. They gave up. If one flea had tried one more time, he would have saved his life or her life and all the rest of them. We give up too early.
We do. And there's two things around that. There's one, and I've discussed this on my podcast before. One is imposter syndrome, which is really, there's two ways of looking at imposter syndrome. If you find someone that does not suffer from imposter syndrome at all, stay clear of them because they're totally nuts. But at the same time, we have to live outside our comfort zone in order to have a fulfilled life. So we'll come across imposter syndrome. And that's when you're not sure of yourself, but you carry on going. And that's really important. And the other one, I'm not sure who said it. It was accredited to Richard Branson, but it might not be. But so many people give up just as they're about to succeed. And actually, that is so true. People kind of go, I just can't do this anymore. And literally, if they'd done it for a few more days, a few more weeks, they would have succeeded. And I think that's also a very true point around those, that kind of holding yourself back. I think, and they're kind of sayings that we talk about, but they're so true. They're so true in life.
Yeah, Wayne Gretzky, famous ice hockey player, he said, you only miss 100% of the shots you do not take. Too many people, they wouldn't try. And then there are others there's a Chinese proverb that said, the man who is waiting until everything will be perfect before doing anything is still waiting. We're not living in a perfect world. You've always heard, if you want to walk on water, you got to get out of the boat. Too many people are staying in the boat and expect to get what they want. You got to get out of the boat, man.
Absolutely, and swim with the sharks. So, Lincoln, obviously this podcast is about bust and beyond. So it's about kind of failure. So what would you say? So it's not about failure. It's regarding failure, but it's really about kind of moving on from failure. What would you say was your failure? So have you had a failure in life, or when have you had to pick yourself up and kind of start moving forward again?
My failure is I've been married a couple of times. And I think that's the one part of my life. We all have regrets and we look back that we regret mistakes we made. We tend to make excuses for the mistakes we made. But again, it takes two to tango kind of deal. But as a man, you chose your wife. You made that choice. So those are some things that I regret a little bit, that I think I've failed at in terms of, but I've matured. And I've come to the point where I realize it's up to me The two most important two-letter words, I can't remember who said it, if it is to be, it is up to me. So I take ownership. Now, I've been married we got married in 86, so that's over 36 years, my current wife. I'm not going to say every day wine and roses, but the difference is I am in control of my own feelings and my own emotions. And I've learned when to walk away. I've learned when to stand up and speak up. And I've learned when to shut up. It's three simple lessons in life. And if people who are taking notes, it's 3 F's: fight, flight, or freeze. And you have a choice, when I need to fight about something, speak up. I'm not talking about a physical fight here, but stand up for your rights. When I need to walk away. Robin, if more people would learn to walk away, we would not have all this random shooting and killing and all this in the world today. And then if more people will learn to know, I don't have to say anything about everything. Pick your battles, man.
We do have this syndrome, don't we? I mean, I noticed, I've been married for 32 years this year. And we do have a syndrome, I think, in relationships where we just feel we need to have the last word. And if your partner feels they need to have the last word, it does make walking away quite difficult. And I think that is definitely a valuable skill. So, like, I will just give in and let her have the last word, or whoever you're arguing with. Because the last word isn't everything. It's actually kind of I find with people that you have a discussion, argument, fight with, sometimes actually it doesn't sink in for like a few hours what was said and what the right outcome is. And you can't always get an outcome in the moment. So actually that cooling off period, that kind of walking away. And if you're always trying to get the last words, you don't get that cooling off period because it carries on and on and on and on.
It's gone. Once it's said, it's gone. You can't recall your words.
And I think in a relationship, it's really important. This is a business podcast, so we talk relationships, but relationships are important in business. But I think in a relationship, and it's a bit very similar to a relationship with a customer or your partner, you've got to think: are you the best you can be? Are you bringing the best you into that relationship? Are you being the best husband or wife that you can be? Because how can you expect your other partner, customer, whatever you want to be, to also be the best and to believe in you and everything if you're not bringing your best game, your A game? And I think people kind of miss that. They become very self-centered. They look at what they want and they don't look at what their partner wants. And I think actually it's a very difficult thing, just easy to say, but if you can make sure you give your partner what they want and trust them to then reciprocate, give you what you want, the relationship may work better.
You're right. But again, I've learned zero expectations, because when I expect something in return and I don't get it, I'm disappointed. I'm hurting now. So now I've learned to do it for the love of doing it. Do it for the love of doing it. That's what unconditional love is all about. I'm not going to give you something and expect something in return. If I get it, fine. But if I don't get it, fine. But it's too many people are just give and take. And
I think, when you're going back, let's take it back to business. When you've got a customer, if you try to give them the best service that you can give them, the absolute best service you can give them without expecting anything back in return. Now, apart from obviously you're going to get paid, but that's by the by. Then it's going to go well. It's going to go well. And we miss that. I think particularly in my industry, which is the construction industry, we have this adversarial approach with our clients. So a bit like the husband and wife who want to get the last word, each one escalating up. And we've got to stop that. We've absolutely got to stop that. We've got to realise that we're there to give the very, very best service within guidelines. But, and once we realise that, I think the business model changes quite a bit.
I totally agree with you, because the thing is, and people in business, repeat business sustains the business. Repeat business and referrals. Happy customers will refer you. What's your brand? What are you known for? They're going to say good things about you. I'm living that right now. Most of my 99.9% of my business comes from referrals. And I love it, Robin. I love it. This morning I got an email from a young lady who said her boss told her about me. And she would like me to do her social emotional intelligence profile that I did for her boss. It works. It works.
Absolutely. You concentrate on what's in front of you and the wider picture is looked after. If you think about, go to racing horses or, steeple jumps, you've got to concentrate on the hedge in front of you. If you're thinking 3 hedges beyond and you don't get over the hedge in front of you, it doesn't matter, does it? The 3 hedges beyond is that important. You might have an idea of where that hedge is and it's a big one. But if you don't focus on the one in front of you, you're not going to get to your 3rd hedge. So I think it's really important to focus on the customer in front of you. And that will lead on to other things. So just to kind of round this off, Lincoln, what would your advice be then? If you had to give 3 advices for life for people, so 3 points, what would be your 3 main points you think you've learned from life that you'd like to pass on?
The first thing I want to tell people, you are the star in the movie of your life. Make every day an Oscar-winning performance. Don't go to work tomorrow. Go to perform and always look for way. You belong in this world. You are a part of this world. You are a citizen of your country, but you're also a citizen of the world. And be intentional of making a positive contribution to this world, and we will have a better world to live in.
I definitely like that one. That's a very good starting point. So what else? What's the other 2 that you suggest?
I would say, in my book, With Passion, I talk about special. You got to know you're special. In this they just announced that the world population is 8 billion people, and I'm sure there are another million somewhere they haven't counted yet. But let's go with 8 billion. There is only one Robin Hayhurst in the whole wide world. Only one. There's only one Lincoln Kokaram. But look in the mirror, people. There's only one of you in this whole world. That makes you unique. That makes you one of a kind. More unique than a diamond. Now you know you're special. Go make other people feel special. When you make people feel special, they will do business with you. They will tell other people about you. They will come back. It's like a ripple effect. Let's create positive ripples in this world. Like sharing kindness and making people feel special. Be like a river. Think about a river. I love this, this illustration. I think I got it from Covey. A river comes down from the mountains. Does it ever stop? No. It might appear when it runs into a rock. It finds a way to get around it, over it, under it, or even over it. Sometimes it might disappear, but it's underground, still flowing. It never stops. Too many people stop too early. Keep going. Keep going. Keep swinging. You only miss 100% of the shots you do not take. And when you need help, ask for help. If you do not ask, the answer is always no.
Absolutely. I think, going on from there, if you make no mistakes, you're doing nothing. The more mistakes you make, I think life is about picking yourself up one more time than you fall over. And if you're not falling over, you're not learning. And, definitely I could not do what I do now without having made the mistakes I've made. There's no way I could, because when I hold someone's hand and guide them through growing their business or avoiding failure or the stress they're feeling, the anxiety, I've been there. And I can do it so much better because of that experience. I can really understand what they're feeling. So, yeah, I love that bit. So last bit of advice then, you got one more?
Oh, I got one more. Never give up. Never give up. The N in passion, if you get my book, is titled Never Give Up. Too many people give up too early. I live near a gym. I love it. In January, when I drive by the gym, the parking lot is filled up. February, it's still a little filled up. By March, Robin, it's halfway filled. People give up too early and they expect results. Think about results. What result do I want out of this activity? and keep that front and center of your mind, and that will inspire you to never give up. This is what I'm aiming for. This is what I'm aiming for. I think Zig Ziglar tells the story about he went to Tell City and he told them he will challenge any archer to an archery. So they put the target out there, and he tells them, well, you got to blindfold the guy. So they said, but sir, how can you hit a target you can't see? And he said, you know what's even worse than that? How can you hit a target you do not have? How can you hit a target you do not have? And some people have this mentality about setting long-term goals. I don't set long-term goals, daily goals. I don't know how long I don't know. Tomorrow is not guaranteed. A VP taught me this formula, the WIN formula, WIN. What's important now? What's important right now? Focus on what's important. Right now, I'm totally focused on Robin Hayhurst and this podcast. Totally focused. I have other things I need to do, but I'm totally focused on this podcast. And that keeps you, it's amazing when you focus on what you're doing right now.
I think that's the same. That's exactly the same relationships, isn't it? And I'm guilty of this, and I have to work very hard at it. Is having a conversation with your partner and not being focused on the conversation. And I think it's definitely something that people are very guilty of, and they do it in business, they do it in relationships, they do it in everything. Being in the moment, being kind of really understanding what's going on around you, is so important. I think that's really good advice. Well, it's been fantastic speaking to you, Lincoln. I hope it's been a slightly different from the other podcast because it hasn't been business biased, but I think that's great because business is about people and business is about relationships. I think that's really important. So hopefully everyone enjoyed that conversation. And it's been great to speak to you, and I'm sure we'll catch up very soon.
You bet. Take care. Have a great year.
Thanks for listening to Bust and Beyond with Robin Hayhurst. Be sure to tune in next time and visit his website at robinhayhurst.com.